Project 3, Stage 4, Combining Text and Graphics. The final stage of this project requires laying out a letterhead and a business envelope. We're not adding more artboards to this logo file. We're going to create a new file that will contain both pieces of stationery and place these logos in. You're going to understand how to work with objects that are placed from external files. Some production-related concerns dictate how you design a letterhead. In general, there's two ways to print a letterhead: commercially in large quantities, or running one off on a desktop printer. If your letterhead is going to be printed commercially, it's going to be printed with multiple copies on a large press sheet, and the individual letterhead sheets then will be cut out of that. This type of printing means that the design elements can run off the edge of the sheet. That's called a bleed. If you're using a commercial printer, you always ask whether it's safe and cost-effective to design with bleeds, and then find out how much bleed allowance you need to include. If you're designing for a printer that's only going to run letter-size paper, then you need to allow a gripper margin so you can't design with bleeds. You can, at this point, make sure that your file is saved, and then you can close it. And we're going to be creating a new document and call it stationery. It's going to have one artboard to start. The size is going to be letter. Make sure that you're working in inches, portrait mode, and give yourself 1/8 of an inch bleed all the way around, and you need to have your raster effect set for high. You now have a red line all the way around, and that's the bleed area. It runs the 1/8 inch all the way past the edge on all four sides. First thing we're going to do is place. And we want our cafe logo, and uncheck link. We want to place this, so show import options. And you can see there's our 3 artboards. Even though we're placing a native Illustrator file, the dialog box is going to show options available for placing PDF files. Illustrator uses PDF for an underlying structure, which is why we can have the multiple artboards. So these options are the same ones as if we were going to be placing a regular PDF file. Crop to determines what you're going to place. You could crop to the media, you can crop to a bleed, the trim, or the artwork. Or if you put individual crop works on a piece, you can crop to those. We are going to crop to the bounding box, which was the edge of the selection. It's the minimum area that encloses the objects on the artboard, and then click OK. You're going to probably get this warning box: an unknown image construct was encountered, but it's all right. It was created in Illustrator, and for some reason the gradient mesh object isn't properly recognized. We can't edit that file because it's not considered native, even though it was created in Illustrator, but we can still place it in. Click very close to the top left corner of the artboard to place this. Don't click out into the bleed, just into the artboard. We're going to go into our Preferences dialog box. Under Edit, Preferences, General, and we want to make sure that Scale, Strokes, and Effects is checked. If we don't have this checked and we start to scale this, then we're going to have a problem with some of the lines that we've made. It will not scale a 1-point stroke down. It would leave a 1-point stroke regardless of how much you reduced or enlarged the object. Now that we know it's okay to go ahead with the transformation, we're going to scale the artwork to 3 inches wide. Make sure that the constrain width and height is checked, and we're using the upper left reference point again and change this to 3 inches. Because it's constrained, the height is going to change right along with the width. Now we're going to position this, and I've got mine already at 1/8 of an inch in on both X and Y values. If yours is not there, you can type that amount in and reposition the logo. Pick up your type tool and right below the logo, click to insert a new point type object and type in the address. Format that as a 9-point font or possibly a 10 depending on what you've used, and position your type. I used a 9.5. Yes, you can use decimal points just so that it's able to fit underneath the text. You probably don't have Coral Normal loaded. That's perfectly fine. And if you don't want to use Typekit or can't use Typekit, pick another type that coordinates well, and then position the object right underneath the stylized L. Select Place again, and this time we're going to select Leaves. Make sure that Show Import Options is still available. Place, and we can still use Crop to Bounding Box, and say OK. Click up on the left-hand corner to place our leaves. Navigate down. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so that I can see the full page. And I want to click and drag the leaves down so that they run off the edge of our page so we can take advantage of the bleed in printing. Save this file now as stationery, and we will continue on by creating the envelope layout. In general, envelopes can be printed either by creating and printing a design on a flat sheet that will be die cut and then folded and glued into the shape of a traditional envelope, or you can print on pre-folded and glued envelopes. Both of these methods for envelope design have special printing requirements, like ensuring that no ink is placed where glue will be applied. Whenever you design an envelope, consult with the output provider that's going to print it before you get too far into the project. In this case, the design will be output on a pre-folded number 10 business size envelope, which is 4 1/8 by 9.5 inches. The printer requires a 1/4 inch gripper margin around the edge of the envelope, so we can't include any ink coverage there. Choose your artboard tool, and with the current artboard active, type Letterhead for the name of the artboard. Place the cursor to the right of the existing artboard, click and drag to create a new artboard. Change the height and width to a width of 9.5 inches and a height of 4.13, which is rounded off for 1/8, and enter. And move your artboard off to the side. Now the new artboard came up with a bleed because our first artboard had one, and it's not a problem to have that. Name your second artboard envelope, and again choose File, Place, and this time select your cafe logo again. Make sure you have Show Import Options selected. And we're going to select our second artboard. select OK, and this time you're going to click and place your logo in the upper left corner of the envelope artboard. Make sure the selection tool is active, and if you don't see your rulers, go to View, Show Rulers. And make sure the menu option reads Change to Global Rulers. We want to have the artboard rulers active. So let's go View, Rulers, Show Rulers. The artboard ruler needs to be active. If it reads Change to Artboard Rulers, that means the global rulers is active. We want the 0 point to be over the active artboard. Now we can select our placed object, and we want to scale it to 2.5 inches wide. And if it's constrained, there will be no problem with the height. And we want to place it 1/4 inch from the top and the side of the envelope. So our X value should be 0.25, and so should our Y value. And hit enter. Copy the type that we placed, and you can copy that in one of several ways, one of which you can simply select it, hold down your Alt key, and drag to move the text over, or you can Control C to copy and Control V to place on the new artboard, whichever you'd rather use, and then change the size of the font down to about 7.5 points. Let's see how that fits. I'm actually going to go up to an 8 point on mine. We want it again to fit underneath the letters, underneath the L, and so I'm just going to drag that over so that it fits properly, and that looks like a pretty nice fit to me. So I'm pretty happy with that one. Now the next part we're not going to do because you're not going to be able to print those proofs. What I would like you to do is read through that. You're going to learn a little bit about a PostScript driven printer, which is a higher end printer. Inkjets and most laser printers that we use for home use don't have that capability, so don't worry too much about that. What I do want you to do, however, is to turn the two files that you've done. Let's first of all save this one, and then I would like to have you export both of those files out for me as PDF files. We're going to save as a PDF file as a press quality PDF file. Open up your other file that you have, the cafe logo. You're going to take that file and save as well, and make that a PDF file. Remember to include your initial at the end, and that all is selected for the artboards. And you're going to save this not as the Illustrator default, but as the press quality. Save the PDF, so you will have two files that you can turn into me.